Hello and welcome back to the Double M Radio Gamescast. As always, I am your host Ryan, and I'm joined today by my lovely duo of co-hosts Brett
Hello.
and Alex.
I'm a stuffy little boy.
You hate to see it. We're down a Wyatt today. He's unfortunately being claimed by illness, and so we're
He's the
here to
stuffiest
hold
of
down the
all.
fort. Yep. Luckily, not the big bad illness, but you know, we all still have to deal with regular diseases as we.
Yeah. It's literally if it wasn't throat borne, it probably wouldn't be that much of a problem, but it's literally just it's just stinky throat, so the worst thing that could possibly happen.
All right. In that case, though, we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. We have a ton of games news because we didn't do news last week for Halloween, as you can see by the set that I haven't taken down yet. And we didn't do the news, so we got a ton of news because a whole bunch of things happened in the past 14 days.
Yes.
A whole bunch of things. And so we're going to talk about those things. All right? And then we're going to talk about games, and we're going to talk about Skyrim imploding yet again because they're changing the file system and all the mods are going to stop working.
Yeah.
Woo. All right.
Single tier.
So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, because I think if we don't talk about this first, it's going to take over the podcast. All right? And that is the Elden Ring gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, I figured as much.
We're going to get this out of the way because I think both Brett and I are going to have a lot to say. Alex, I don't know how into Souls-style games you are, but...
A little bit. I like the way it looks, so I'd be excited for it if I plan on getting it, which I hope I do, but I still haven't gotten Guardians of the Galaxy yet for some reason.
Both very good-looking games. Yeah. All right, so general impressions from the Elden Ring video. We got to see way more than I think, at least I was expecting. I didn't expect to see so much of the structure of the game put out in front of us. I really thought we were going to get like a couple, maybe a boss fight and a few just wilderness fights. I didn't think we would see the castle bit. I didn't think we would see the world map, especially. That was a new thing for a Souls game.
That was
as well as all the crazy abilities they showed.
Yeah, dude.
You can sneak!
I know. Yeah, they kept that over from Sekiro. Thank God. Yeah. I was also very surprised by how much they showed because it's really like they packed a lot into those. What is it, like 19 minutes or something like that?
Yeah,
something like that.
It was a short amount of time.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much they could fit in like 15-20 minutes because I was just expecting like something super doctored, super like, okay, we're going to show you this one area, one section of the game. We're going to go through a little bit, and you're going to have the sweeping. I'm going to tilt the left stick like 1 degree, and you're going to get the sweeping gamer camera shot that no one ever does, but they always have in the let's play this like a real gamer would.
Especially anything third person. You gotta have the bit where you walk up to a triangular cliff and then slowly pan the camera around.
Yeah, slowly pan over. But no, it was just totally like it was a very FromSoft showing. It wasn't the most doctored part about it is that they just probably had the in-game turn UI off option on. Yeah. Which like I know you brought this up in chat, Alex, but like for me at least, if you go back and look at the lineage of FromSoft games for the last like 10 years, the UI hasn't changed at all. So it would be hard.
It's same thing, same placement. I'd still like to see, like the borders of the item window.
It's like that. Just to even see, but I don't think it's to the
degree. Because we did see the menus. We didn't see the menus, UI though, in-game HUD. Yeah. So I did think the menus this time around looked way more clean than usual. Though there was still a lot of information on some of them that might be a lot to process at once, but that kind of goes hand in hand with RPGs.
If you've played a Souls game, you know how to look through it.
Exactly.
If you've played any RPG, you understand how to like look at your damage stats, and at least the Souls games always have the thing where you can press a button and then just scroll over the thing to have it tell you what it does.
Explain it. Yeah.
Specifically, which is always the kind of thing that I miss in other games. Yeah, there's a little button. It's like help.
I didn't know that for a while when I played it the first time either. So my first time through my first Dark Souls game was very overwhelming because I just didn't know what any of the funny symbols meant.
It's really hard. You'd be surprised because some games will have like defense and then vitality and then like endurance.
Yeah.
next to each other, and all those words are like vaguely similar,
Mhm.
but tend to do different things in different games. So
The synonym game.
it's useful to know that, like, oh, endurance is my carry weight, vitality is like how much health I have, and then defense is my damage reduction. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing I always appreciate, and I'm sure we'll get that again. I think the thing that most excited me about this was the crazy like summon stuff they used.
Oh yeah.
Seems like you're gonna have
That's
some
cool.
crazy like in combat temporary summons where you can summon like 5 things at once.
Like sort of that half ally, half spell thing where God, there was
Yeah.
something where I think it was, I don't know, it looked so cool where it was tied to your movement or something, because
Yeah.
as
Yep.
soon as the character brought their axe down, like the 4 shadow
Two-
clones around the enemy would do that as well. And
2 skeletons spawned that were like 20 feet tall that also slammed their hammers down. It was just so cool. If the game actually works like that, that is just going to be so sick every single time. And
Yeah.
the runs that some like the crazy streamers that have been playing Dark Souls 1 like since it came out and just haven't played another game, like they're going to have some wacky runs with this game. It's going to be
it'll
insanity.
it'll be really cool to see just the, what's the word, synchronization and like the timing it takes to really get those
Yeah.
summons good.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I wonder if they're used more like, especially with the skeleton one they showed where it was the 3 timed hits, if that's something that you use that is an individual spell that will do that hit automatically, or if it's a thing that you use in like your weapon on the next hit is gonna do it,
Yeah.
or if it's a weapon art, because we
Or,
know
yeah,
that
weapon
weapon
art.
arts are transferable between weapons now, so
Mhm.
you aren't limited to like your weapon type can only do one thing. You can use whatever ability you want with that weapon type. So I'm curious to see how crazy that gets too.
Yeah.
Oh, you were talking about you not being bothered by the lack of UI. I don't, and this is like something that's not bothering me either, because I don't think your character is going to be customizable.
There's a lot of different armor
It
sets that they
probably will
showed.
because
Well, I
they
mean,
Unless you mean
showed
like face stuff.
face wise.
they put on Twitter a image of 5 different character select things.
Oh,
Mm,
So it looks like there will be some form of character creation menu. I don't know if that will include full customization or not, but it had that whole like pick one of your 5 classes and then you go out with this armor set.
I mean, like, but if it's all the same character, I guess canonically.
They didn't look the
I don't know.
same across the different ones, so I don't think it's the same from all 5, but we'll see.
yeah.
I was gonna say I wouldn't mind, because most Souls games I spend most
You
time as
don't
a
ever
wraith
see your
and don't
character.
I don't focus on looks because I'm spending 75% of the game as a raisin.
Yeah, or in
Yeah,
heavy armor.
yeah.
You're either a
Or like
raisin or you have heavy armor everywhere and can't see a single inch of yourself.
exactly.
Onion
You
Man.
Oh yeah.
you spend the first like 5 minutes pressing the similar face button until something funny happens, and then you never look at it again. That's pretty much that's just how it goes.
Yep. Yeah, and I think this is going to be exciting to see how the difficulty plays out because
Yes.
they've stated that they want this game to be a little bit more accessible than
Mhm.
Souls games generally are, and that it's kind of aiming for a not necessarily less difficult, but more approachable difficulty where you can probably have builds and like it seems like they're going to try to balance it maybe a little bit less strictly
Mhm.
so that you can have your magic build if you want to go through and maybe not have issues with some areas. I think that'd be a cool idea to see what types of people play this game that maybe haven't touched Souls
Yeah.
games before.
If I
'Cause I
get
think
it, Oh.
just the publicity that this game has gotten has been
Yeah.
way more than everything that FromSoft has done before, and that's saying something because like people went absolutely crazy over Bloodborne. People went absolutely crazy when Sekiro was announced, and
Yep.
just like now Dark Souls is like a huge thing. Like this feels like it's getting more press than any of those things. Like I almost want to say any of those things combined because like everyone and their mom knows. My mom knows that it's
Oh,
coming out because
Elden
she asked me
Ring.
what it was exactly. um, but yeah, on the difficulty thing, this is more into like the wishy washy. Like, is this like a trailer thing or is this an actual gameplay thing? But there were so many attacks that like the boss that they showed did, where it's just like even if you block with a weapon out in like Dark Souls 3 or something,
You'd be dead.
like you're dead. Like that's
you're
not even like
trying,
half your
You
health
would be
bar
dead
gone.
in
Like this
2
is the
hits.
yeah, you're
you're
just dead.
you're a very dusty pancake.
It's but he's just blocking with just his normal like longsword, and he's still living and able to like roll out of the way and stuff, and he's not having to roll after every single hit, and it's just like tanking stuff. So if they lean into that more, where it's like you don't have to be exceptionally perfect on the timing for this boss that has 95 arms
You're
and legs
allowed to
sticking
make
out
more
of it,
mistakes.
it's that I think that would probably work better for a game that is going to be where it's pretty much
Wider
confirmed like open
audience.
world at this point.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like because I mean one of my
Structure-wise.
biggest pet peeves in Dark Souls 1 is like you go fight Nito and then you die and then you got to run through like 2 minutes of skeletons trying to throw you off the edge of a cliff to get back to him every single time that you die and have to
Sorry,
get back to him.
you went to fight Nito first?
No, not first. I mean, it's just the closest bonfire to him is like
Oh
there's still a
god.
distance away. It's the same thing with Ornstein and Smo. There's just a huge straight line of just like giants smacking down big axes and stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
like that. Clearly, that's part of
I
you
liked
know
farming them.
it. Yeah, they're good for fun, but that's part of the FromSoft design of like the classic like just blurring the line between what is BS and what is good for a game to have in it. So I think that line would be a lot easier to tip over to the negative side when you have like the world is so big and like, oh, I just got killed by this boss. Now I have to go to
Mhm.
this whole section of castle again. Oh
Yeah.
my god! Like I think kind of swaying the difficulty a little bit to the more accessible side is good to kind of leverage annoyance on that front because I know that would absolutely tick me off if I had to go through like a whole huge area because I got killed by the guy whose 95 arms were all swinging at once and I couldn't keep track.
Yeah. I wonder how this is going to end up finally looking out, because we know where there's going to be at least one more showcase of the game
Mhm.
Oh,
that they've said. So
And we have that technical test in
yes.
like 5 days or something.
Yeah, and
So
apparently some influencers and content creators have gotten access to that already.
nice.
So
nice.
we're
Okay.
gonna have detailed impressions from a lot of people about that
Cool.
test. So that's very exciting. I'm sure we'll see UI from that footage very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I
Um,
think when you were talking about playstyles, I think because Skyrim is given this to me, and it's essentially a sickness at this point. I'm gonna go full stealth
You can now. So
yeah.
as much as like yeah.
for the most part.
Aside from
I
the boss fights, it seems like I think the
yeah
boss fights you still
Yeah,
gotta fight, but the rest of the game,
which
I
makes sense.
am going to stab someone while in tall grass every chance I get.
Do it.
that's what Ghost of Tsushima taught me. Is
Yeah.
if I
The
have the
tall grass
option
is
for stealth and
powerful.
it's fun, then I'm gonna do it the entire time, even if the
Yeah.
combat
You
is very fun too.
you
Mhm.
become the Pokemon hiding in the tall grass.
That, or I'm gonna go full Necromancer and just use summons the entire time, because that seems like it would be a great
Ooh.
time
Yeah.
too. But I'm very excited to see build options for this, because it definitely seems like, I think someone said in the Twitch chat that like they were waiting for the 8 hours of body video
Yep.
content that's gonna come out from
Yep.
this like 15-minute trailer, and I'm like, yeah, so am
Exactly.
I. I think it's gonna be super fun
And
to
it's already
see.
started too.
Yep, what kind of crazy stuff is gonna come out of this. So yeah, I think it's just very exciting to have a game like this, especially because it's not a Dark Souls game; it's Elden Ring.
Mhm.
We don't know what is on the table and what isn't, right? Like we may not have the same analogs that we had for things in Dark Souls. Like throughout the Dark Souls games, we'd have analog weapons of like, you always have your scimitar sword, you always have your great sword that people love. You've always got the basic long sword that's solid through the entire game. So I'm waiting to
I mean,
see
what's like
what we have with Elden Ring to fill
what
those
was the
roles.
main? What did the main character have most of the time? A claymore, something like
Yeah, the
that.
Claymore was always a classic
Yeah,
in
Claymore's the
Souls.
yeah.
Good
This
weapon.
just in general, this feels like just from what we've seen so far, like the culmination of all the things that FromSoft and especially Miyazaki's team has done in all the fantasy games that they've made. Like it just feels like a culmination of all those things. Like you have stuff from Sekiro showing up, you have stuff from Bloodborne showing up, you have all the things they learned from Dark Souls showing up. You have things from Dark Souls 2 showing up. Like there was evidence of like power stancing with dual wielding things and then getting a
Oh,
Yeah.
different move set when doing that, which thank God that's back because I missed that in 3. It's just
almost
so like this feels like this is the kind of the Studio Trigger style like victory lap of like here's all the cool things we did, except they like really actually deserved it because they created a whole genre, and now this looks like it's going to be the best version of it, pretty
it
much. I mean, we'll
it,
see when it comes out.
it's their oh god, perfect cell
Yeah.
game. It's their tour de force.
Yep.
Yeah, magnum opus. All right. With that, we're going to conclude our Elden Ring discussion and move on to the slightly more boring news. So, good old Cyberpunk. I know every time I say these words, everyone gets a little shard of just sorrow in the middle of their chest.
Is it good news?
No.
No. There's
Cyberpunk
never good news for
2077
Cyberpunk.
updated its roadmaps and pushed all DLC updates and improvements to 2022.
Mm-hmm. Which is, from interviews and from things that devs have said, the original year that they wanted the game to come out. Which is kind of like,
Yeah.
maybe if they just waited a little bit until it was
I do
done.
feel the need to preface this by saying at least I had a good time with Cyberpunk. It was still a buggy mess at many points, but I had a good time with it. So I want to see what this game looks like when it isn't a buggy mess at the same time. Really badly.
I was able to enjoy the game without going into the center of the city once.
Because like my thing was most of the city felt useless, right? Like you didn't do anything in the majority of the city unless you were doing random open world stuff. But none of that stuff was particularly engaging to the point of making you want to engage with it in a way that like put you at risk of having horrible bugs that would end your save or something. So I want to see what this looks like midway through 2022 and if they can uphold the new time frame for everything. Because I'm not 100% confident anymore in CD Projekt. So hopefully they can pull it back, but it's been a recurring issue.
Yep.
All right, we have Guardians of the Galaxy news that's a little bit more upbeat. So apparently, 80% of the dialogue in the game writing in Guardians of the Galaxy was written by people that were formerly testers at the studios.
Interesting.
There's just a cool little bit of Eidos Montreal, one of Jocelyn Baxter, who was a writer there, told people that and was like, yeah, this is why you got to respect your testers because oftentimes they're going to become your core team. There's also...
They were part of the core team when they wrote it. They weren't testers when they wrote the dialogue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably, because everyone on the team obviously tests the game, but their title probably wasn't QA tester.
Yeah.
Now, there was another thing that happened with Guardians of the Galaxy today. So Denuvo, good old Denuvo, is a DRM software that prevents theft, supposedly. It doesn't really work super well, and it also causes performance issues. They forgot to renew their domain today, which meant that Denuvo games, you couldn't access them for a period of like an hour.
Oh no.
Including Guardians of the Galaxy.
No.
What other games are they with?
Denuvo's in tons of stuff. It tends to get removed. It's not a thing that usually sticks around.
Because people don't like it most of the time, right?
Yeah, people hate it. It also has performance issues. And generally, Denuvo is only useful until a game gets cracked, and usually that is within a month of the release. So as soon as that passes, most games will remove the Denuvo because it doesn't really do anything after that. But for Guardians, it hasn't happened yet. So we'll see. Were you gonna yawn on my show, Alex? He's gonna do that.
The stuffy, sleepy boy. It's not intentional.
Gotta call you up for the content.
Understandable.
So Fortnite.
All right.
Fortnite.
Have a great show, guys.
Yep. Fortnite is shutting down in China. In a week.
Okay.
I feel like this is
good for them.
They've lost their Apple stuff and now they're shutting down in China. I feel like China is a large part of the Fortnite audience.
It's
a large part of every game audience.
I don't feel like there are enough toxic 12-year-olds in China, though.
Yeah, there really aren't, from my knowledge, for games like that to thrive on. Maybe the toxic 12-year-olds just go somewhere else. They go to Europe, you know?
They all come here.
They'll come to America.
Boy, does it feel like it.
Oh, God.
Right.
America, the world's leading import in toxic 12-year-olds.
True.
Yeah, definitely. So So we now have an official title for Sony's PlayStation efforts on PC called PlayStation PC. It's now a games label. I know it's very innovative. You never would have thought of this name. It tells you what you need to know.
It does.
Listen, those Nvidia leaks are looking more and more.
That's the main thing about this.
Day.
See, the fact that it's called that really doesn't matter. The fact that they've formed this label makes the leaks seem a lot more plausible.
Yes.
Which means there's a lot of really cool games coming to PC if that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Though not Bloodborne.
No.
Which kind of makes the leak more believable.
Yeah, that really. It's true. It sucks, but it's true.
Sucks, but true. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, you all remember Mass Effect?
How could I forget?
It's groundbreaking entry Andromeda.
Oh
masterpiece.
Yeah, broke new
Might's
ground.
Not here to defend
Easy
it,
game of the year. So we have when Mass Effect's limited edition or legendary edition came out with all the new. Not new content, but the new visuals and all the collected DLC that hadn't really been in a collection ever finally released. There was one bit of content that didn't make its way over. Pinnacle Station was the bit of content that BioWare lost the source code for. And so they could not port it.
Square Enix thing to do.
Though Pinnacle Station is also a very minor DLC that doesn't really add anything. It's just a little station where you can do like combat challenges for a couple small rewards. It really doesn't add anything to the game, really. Which is why they were like, it was not worth the effort to port it. Well, some modders thought differently.
Wow.
And have ported Pinnacle Station to the PC version of Limited Edition. Which already is notable because of the difficulty of that. Like, they don't have the source code to work from.
Yeah.
So they had to like hacksaw everything out of the original version of these games and get it modded back in. Crazy props to them to mod in that piece of content that very few people liked.
Yeah, no kidding. Dedication.
It is dedication, and like, hey, that they can now say they did something that a giant AAA dev team could not do. So that's props to them.
Slap that on your resume.
Very impressive. Now we got some news that's a little sad. All right, we got a couple of sad news, and most of them have to do with MMOs. Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. It's been delayed.
Coming. Yes.
Just by 2 weeks, so really not not that notable.
It's by 2 weeks. Oh, you get to be sad about that.
Just long enough to be sad.
It's more to make the Blizzard news that we have to talk about seem less bad.
Oh boy.
There's a lot.
There is a lot of Blizzard news.
So Endwalker had their final launch trailer shown and their final live letter, and Naoki Yoshida, the kind of head developer, did a announcement where he was visibly crying and super upset that they had to do this, and was like, we're delaying it because of my own selfishness, because he wants the game to be high quality enough for everyone that he's not at all okay with putting out even a minorly subpar product. But of course, for 14, subpar means like it gets an 80 on Metacritic.
Yeah,
those Final Fantasy 14 developers are just another breed.
And the main reason they've stated this is this is like by far the largest expansion the game has had, so they put so much effort into writing that they had people not doing QA basically of the final content, because it took until very recently to get that finally implemented. So they're taking this extra 2 weeks to do final pushes of QA and make sure that the game is coming out bug free. And they also wanted time to make sure they're addressing the server issue, because they know that it's going to get even worse when Endwalker launches after the whole flood of people coming, especially all the new people probably trying it with Endwalker. So that is the justification for that. It's still this year, still December. So
you mean
we'll see
people like those following Asmongold?
Look, I still feel bad about mentioning Asmongold now, because his mother passed away, which is very sad, because a lot of people know the clip of like Asmongold watching him reach level 60, or Asmongold's mother watching him reach level 60. In World of Warcraft, not in 14. It's an old video where you can see her getting super excited and everything. It's a great video, but she passed away. It sucks. And we got more Blizzard news that sucks to talk about.
Oh god.
So Jen O'Neill, the person who was appointed to leave, or to lead Blizzard as a co-leader with Mike Ibarra, has left Blizzard.
Wanted to leave after all.
After, what was it, 3 months, I think?
Yep, a little over 3 months. She is not the only one who left. She's the headliner, but the other 2 women that they also put in positions of leadership have also left.
Yeah, really says something.
Yep, and they released a statement saying this is kind of the reason they're leaving is they need to examine the issues that cause these people in positions of power to not want to be there.
Yeah.
Rather than just trying to make women leaders, you need to actually make an environment where it is safe for everyone to be a leader and not just white men. So
slap them there. Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that needs to be examined and it's not known at this point.
Well, that's what Jen O'Neill and Amy Dunham. So Amy Dunham was the tech director who also left earlier. It was less than 3 months, not more than 3 months, just under 3 months. Both of them left, and she basically said it's the decision-making process was just very flawed, and they wanted to leave because the company needs to re-examine why those issues are still so present. So she's left, which puts Blizzard in an even worse place. They really don't have a lot of redeeming big... Actually, Blizzard right now had the response of going in and cutting out the high-profile cases, right? But they've been doing this thing where they keep going to like World of Warcraft and cutting out voice lines or outdated paintings to look like they're doing something, and it doesn't really seem like they are.
They're cutting content, and they're calling that doing something.
I will say
they're cutting.
Go ahead,
some of them are a little like,
they're
why is that there? But at the same time, it's like this isn't the problem. So, and at the end of the day, like, okay, I guess it's good that they're gone now, but
you're trimming your hedges while your house is on fire.
It's like who really cares? There shouldn't, like, honestly, unless there was like a bigger issue, there shouldn't be any updates until the actual issues of the company itself are solved, because until that happens, all of the things that are made by the flawed company will be made by the flawed company until the company is no longer flawed. And just all these are just very like just throw duct tape on it for now, dude. It'll fix it for now. We'll put
fix it in post,
fix it later, whatever. Exactly, yeah. And it's just like
they're
super,
fixing the
like,
symptoms instead of fixing the problem. Really, the main issue.
It's something that like people who don't care super a lot will like see the headline for and like, oh well, I guess they fixed it now, but like clearly it's no effort.
Yeah,
well, not enough effort is being put in. And it's not working.
Yep, and I feel like this is especially bad for World of Warcraft. I feel like Diablo and because the other news that goes hand in hand with this is that Diablo and Overwatch 2 have been delayed. Essentially, we didn't have release dates for them yet, but they've been pushed into either the end of 2022 or 2023. At this point, Blizzard's stock and Activision's stock took a huge hit overnight as soon as this information was announced. But yeah, those games are not coming out as soon as people had hoped, which sucks. I mean, obviously they should take the time they need to make these good, especially with the company having so many issues right now. Like, I feel like the only real way to fix this in the eyes of the people, the gamers, as it were, is to basically go quiet and release good games and not have any negative reports come out about how you're treating your employees, which seems to be really difficult
for them to do, though.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard, but seems to be very difficult for them right now. So, really hoping they take this to heart and go in and fix these problems and push out some good games eventually. Although it does beg the question of like, what has Blizzard been doing for the last 8 years?
We know what they've been doing other than quote unquote making games.
It's just wild. It's the same thing with like Valve not releasing games for decades at a time.
What are they up to?
That's a real question. What are they actually doing?
What's going on behind the scenes there?
I mean, Valve at least has the excuse if they own a really good storefront and they put out like Half-Life Alyx. They made a VR headset. They're doing hardware stuff. True. But Blizzard is just like, what is happening? All your games that are live right now are getting actively worse as time goes on instead of better. Like World of Warcraft is continually suffering. Actually, I took that back. Diablo 3 is doing fine. Diablo 3 is good. World of Warcraft, not in a good spot. And Overwatch is just kind of floundering right now because the player base has no content coming until Overwatch 2. And if Overwatch 2 is delayed, that just means nothing is happening, right?
What a decision to make Overwatch 2 in the first place. Like, my God.
Like, there are
Really?
layers to that decision.
It's just baffling.
And just like an onion, when you peel back those layers, each one makes you cry.
Yep. So, I have it, as always, we like to do a little game here, right?
Oh, God.
And I have a little
Game
game for
time?
you too. And it's
Game
very
time,
simple. I just want you to tell me what you think is the highest rated game of this year.
Oh.
Huh.
Well, based on open critic scores.
Yes.
Just take a
Which is
stab.
like
What
all
is
the
your
ma-
guess
Hmm.
so far this year? Out of all the crazy games that have released,
Trying to remember what came out this year.
we had Guardians of the
Nier.
Galaxy. We had, I believe, Nier was this year.
Nier was this
Really?
year, yeah.
Yeah.
Back for
Oh,
Blood.
it's not going to be Nier, though.
Come on, come up with some games to throw some names out. You're not limited to just one. I just want you to throw some titles out.
Oh,
I think I am going to say Guardians of the Galaxy because I feel like that,
Alright.
that appeals to more than Nier does, even though I like
I-
Nier better.
I would take that, but I don't want us to have less content. So Far Cry 6?
Okay, well,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
definitely not Far Cry 6.
Oh,
I can tell you
damn.
that for sure.
Pain.
oh.
Any
Definitely not
other
going to
guesses from
Fantasy
anyone?
Critic right now. I'm definitely not going to Fantasy Critic right now to totally look at all of our lists and not cheat. What are you talking
What else
about?
came out? You
I
know
don't
what? I'm
actually
gonna-
think any of us have this game on our lists.
Oh,
I can give you that hint, which is surprising.
I was-
that's yeah.
you know what? I bet you it's Hogwarts Legacy.
No.
I could say it would have been on my list had I known this game was coming out when we were making the lists.
Oh, interesting.
I'll
So,
give you a hint.
alright
It's
then.
under the
Would
Xbox
you?
umbrella. It is an Xbox studio.
Xbox makes games? What are you talking about?
I'm
You're gonna say it, and I'm
Drawing a
gonna
blank.
kick myself.
yeah.
All right, it is Forza Horizon 5
Really?
by
Let's get that-
Really?
let's get
3
that kicking
full
going.
points too. It is the only game this year to currently be sitting above a 90 or
Really?
above an 89. So it is currently at a 92 on Metacritic, 91 or 92 on OpenCritic, 91 at Metacritic. Highest rated game of the year so far.
Okay, good for cars.
wild.
It's a good year for cars.
Good year for
Yeah.
cars, you know? I feel
Lightning
like I don't know if
McQueen.
this is indicative of I'm sure it is indicative of Forza Horizon 5 being very quality. Like I'm a person that loves the Horizon games, so I'm sure it's going to be very fun. I wonder if this is just more indicative of like we haven't had a lot of games come out this year that didn't have problems.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So wait, Forza Horizon. God, does Playground Games work on them?
That's Playground
Okay.
Games. They're doing Fable
Would-
too,
Yeah.
which is going to be coming out at some point. But yeah, Forza Horizon 5 reviewing extremely well. Currently a full 10 points above Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
And Guardians of the Galaxy is a good game.
It's very good, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm very curious to play this when it hits a Game Pass next week. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to test that game out and see how good it actually is. Very
Cars.
fun. Though I do wish, I just wish maybe Psychonauts 2 broke that 90 gap.
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about that since it got out.
It's very good because
Yeah,
it
that's what
released, everyone liked it, and then they're like, all right, we can move on.
There's
nice.
just no
Over.
controversy to have if it's just a solid game. That's
Because
just
it's a
it.
solid game that works, which
Yeah.
is apparently a hard bar to hit now.
Yeah, this day and age.
Legitimately. So that's our interesting little bit of games industry game scoring. Racing
Gamer
games are
trivia.
objectively the best.
Of course,
I
yeah,
guess so.
Especially compared to the rest
Oh.
of this year.
Well, I'm surprised. I'm surprised the Hot Wheels racing game isn't up there then. 'Cause that's
The Hot Wheels racing game actually did
Oh.
review pretty well. It's
It
not
did.
up at the top though. All right,
that was some fantastic stuff to watch.
everyone ready to begin the proper discussion for this week?
No, but okay.
Great, because the proper discussion this week is we're going to talk about the games we've been playing this week. Because we
Perfect.
haven't done that in a while, and this is also going to be swept up into the Skyrim modpocalypse talk because I've been playing a lot of Skyrim
Oh boy.
past week. But Alex, I know you had an interesting game that you said you want to talk about.
I do. I have several actually. For once,
Pull one out.
I'm starting to branch out. I because we were doing. Can I talk about the Game Pass stuff?
Yeah, you can talk about it if you want to. It's just we're not gonna like officially go through that list right now.
So this is my first foray into Game Pass, and so I was doing a little looking around, and the first game that I've been playing and that I just absolutely love, it's so satisfying, is Carrion.
Oh
That
yeah, that's a
that's on
fun
Game
game.
Pass, which I love my little Pepto Bismol monster. He's
Bismol
so
monster.
he's so squiggly. It's so I wouldn't think because usually in other games where the movement has been solely using the mouse and dragging, it hasn't been that good for me. It was it was so nice in this one. It's very easily controllable, and at the same time, he's still just flopping around the bigger he gets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Why don't you
and
give us the sales pitch for this game for people that don't know what it is? 'Cause
Yeah,
it is a
yeah.
lower profile indie
Yeah.
game. So
so it's a 2D, pretty nicely done pixel game where you are. I don't think you're an alien. You're some type
a horror movie monster,
of
basically.
Like an
like
experiment kind of
yeah,
thing.
like the thing from the I think that's the thing from the Arctic.
Yeah, the thing from the thing.
The
The
thing
thing from the thing.
movie
The
is
thing
called
from
The
the
Thing.
thing. You're essentially that, and you break out of your little containment cell, um, and you can eat people to grow bigger. And the bigger you grow, the more powers you can have, and you can have things like a Spider-Man web shooter, uh, um, or being able to ram and pull objects. The bigger and stronger you get, or growing spikes or hard armor and things. And you're just flipping yourself all over the place with the mouse controls, and it's so fun. And you're going through this facility trying to break out and gather other pieces of yourself to gain more abilities.
So kind of like
And
Metroid, like of finding your
yeah,
lost powers,
Mhm.
yes, it's very
overcoming the Metroidvania. I don't know if it's a Metroidvania. Is it level based or
it's very Metroidvania.
so it's like
They're
open and you're revisiting areas and not
yeah,
level based?
yeah. You're going back to places. You're thinking, oh, that looks weird. I wonder when I'll be able to use that. Couple maybe an hour or so later, you get I can crush boxes now. I can get through that door, or I can remove this giant metal plug from the wall,
Lovely. It's what you love to see.
or I can possess people now. That was a really fun one.
That's fun.
That sounds cool, yeah.
It reminds me of the old GameCube game called Geist. That is one of the coolest like first-person shooters that I've ever played because you can zoop into anybody and control them and move them around to do things.
Ooh.
It's a wild game. Man, I wish more games would go for the possession gimmick. It's very fun. It's the one saving grace of Watch Dogs Legion.
Have you played this is a tiny bit off it. Have you played Ghost Trick?
I have played Ghost Trick. Ghost Trick is also very good. Yep. All right. Anything else to say about Carry On?
It's good, especially if you're scared of monsters. This might help. This might make you fall in love with a little Pepto Bismol alien being.
Of course.
Especially if you're scared of Pepto.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Brett. What do you got for us?
All right. So we're talking mouse control only games. We're gonna keep on that train because for some reason, I got this game on Steam a while ago for like $5 or something when it was on sale, and it literally just like it was a huge Steam sale, and I had some cash to throw around at the time, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. It's called Xanadu Next, and it is
Xanadu.
a remaster port of a 2005 classic N-Gage game, everyone's favorite mobile console.
I just want to know how you find these
Wow.
games.
I literally my mindset is that I want to be the guy that finds like the next cool hidden gem, because that's what the ones that I kind of find more interesting, like the Wild Arms is the Star Oceans.
You know what you
is,
need to
which
add to your list, Brett, is a game called Resonance of Fate.
Resonance of Fate. Yes,
It is a JRPG entirely about guns.
Yes, okay, and it's on the it's backwards compatible because it's on 360, right?
I think so.
Is
It just came out with a new HD remake, so
Oh, I didn't
What
know
was
it
that.
is very nice. By just came out, I mean it came out last year, so not
Okay.
just, but recently.
What was the cowboy-esque JRPG that you were
That
playing
was
a
that
while
was
ago?
Wild Arms.
Wild Arms.
Like I have so much love for Final Fantasy, for being like that's the happy home of JRPGs, where they just like they work most of the time, and that's like the good bar to set. But then you have so many wacky ones, especially from the era of like the late '90s and the early 2000s, where developers were just like, oh, cowboys and giant robots at the same time. Oh, people
Of
buy it, I
course,
guess. I don't care.
Xanadu next is a Nihon Falcon
It is.
game.
It is.
They don't put
Um,
out bad games very often.
They
Usually
really
they're really
don't.
good.
Because this game feels like it should be worth more than $5 or whatever the normal asking price is when it's not on sale. Because it's like
It is
legitimately
currently $15 on Steam to pick up
it's worth
Xanadu
it.
next.
It's fully worth it because you can play with a controller if you're an insane person, but that will remind you that this is a phone game. It's it's you can just do mouse control only, and it works completely well for an action RPG for some reason. And it just kind of feels like anime Dark Souls Diablo, kind of, where you just have these very very demanding dungeon um encounters, and like they're all divided into different like a room that'll all like attach together. It's almost it looks like as if it's randomly generated, but it's not, because each thing has their own square on the map, and each time you exit the hallway it like loads the next room and stuff. Um but yeah, it's super weird. I haven't really played anything like it, and it's just an interesting uh action RPG that's been taken in a direction that I wasn't really expecting. And my favorite part about this game is that there's no cooldown for casting spells. The only thing that limits you is the amount of casts that you have. So if you're just having trouble fighting a boss, and you have all your spells left over, you just mash right mouse click, and it's just and all of his health is gone. Just fireballs all gone in 5 seconds, and
Wonderful.
Magic
it's
missile!
great. It's fantastic.
You
Um,
love to see that.
It's and it's exactly the kind of I mean, it's again an N-Gage game, so it's basically a PS1 game in terms of how it looks, which is exactly the way that I love when games look. So it's, if you like that sort of thing, and you're looking for something in the not full price market, then I would absolutely recommend it.
All right. Now, I've got 3 games tonight. I've played a lot of minor, small games that I want to talk about, and then Skyrim. So I'm going to kick it off.
Skyrim. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Skyrim a little bit. Towards the end, though, because that has a lot of stuff going on with the modding thing that I want to hit on. But first, we're sticking on the theme of mouse control games.
Oh.
Planet Zoo.
Oh.
So Planet Zoo
Oh.
is a game where you run a zoo full of cute 3D modeled animals, and you just manage the zoo, make sure your animals are happy and that your guests are going in and buying all the drinks and whatnot, so your capitalistic influx of money continues, so you can buy more rare and endangered animals and build enclosures for them. Except it's like...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, you can physically build.
Yep.
Like
that's the
aspects for it
big...
too, right?
That's Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster. They're both the same developer, Frontier. Their big deal is that you can kind of build everything by hand if you want to, and I find that works a lot better in the zoo game than the roller coaster game, because with the roller coaster tycoon style games, you usually want to get into the tycoon portion. That's the bit that's fun for a lot of people, is managing your finances and whatnot, and kind of building out this theme park in a way that you really like. But with Planet Coaster, you had to spend so much time on the visuals, or your park would just look terrible. it just wouldn't look very good because you have to spend so much time with what is essentially just a level design toolkit, or your stuff is going to look awful. That works a lot better in a zoo setting because with zoos, you're kind of incrementally upgrading all the time by placing in new things. So like you have to research animals when you have them in your pens to unlock new things to make those animals happier. So like I have my Indian peafowl that are the peacocks running around, and at first I can't get them super happy because I don't know what items they like, right? I don't know what toys they want in their enclosure, what flora and fauna are best suited to being in the same enclosure. So I get my veterinarian to go research them. And then after my veterinarian does some research, I can put in new toys and whatnot in their enclosure. And then you get to see these cute animations of them interacting with the items and whatnot. It's very adorable.
I am trying so hard to come up with an Indian peafowl pun.
Look, the Indian peafowl are a mess because they're super cheap to get at the start, so they're a good starter animal, but they poop everywhere. Everywhere. And look, your keepers and your caretakers have a hard time dealing with that much excrement.
I can't go for that one. It's too low of a bar. It's too low of a bar.
Because then the guests all complain that there's too much everywhere, so you got to clean it up. But it's a very fun game, especially when you start getting into the crazy things, and you get stuff like monkeys who can climb, and you can actually build out like climbing courses for them that they'll actually do.
Ooh,
like they run across them and everything. I think it's a formula that works a lot better in that zoo setting where you can you get the reward of seeing your animals look all happy and then go play with things, which it works really well in the 3D kind of very nicely rendered look that it has. So
it's like 3D. It's not sort of
proper 3D. It is proper full 3D, and you can kind of modify every single detail down to like how tall your barriers are to make sure that animals don't get out of them. There's certain animals that like gain benefits from being in enclosures with different types. So you have like your warthogs like being around certain wildebeests and whatnot. So you put them all in a giant enclosure together, which is a lot of fun to watch them interact. So it's a very entertaining, kind of casual management game. A lot of fun. All right, Alex. You ready for your next exploration game?
Indian poop fowl, there I said it.
Good job.
I thought you could resist it. I was fingers were
so
crossed that you could resist it.
I'm so sorry. Oh god, I actually almost cried trying to hold that back. I have a problem.
This is incredible to watch.
Oh, I have a serious problem. Yeah.
So you have a punblum.
He was just about to start and get over it. Look what you did. You did this.
Oh god. Okay. The other game that I've been playing is it's not all mouse controlled, but it is another 2D side scrolling S game. It is unto the end. It's very
dramatic.
It feels a little Norse inspired with how the visuals go. It's very how do I describe it? It's sort of a little. It's not 3D, though the animation suggests that it might be
like 2.5D kind of look.
Yeah. Or it's very good procedural, and then there's a 2D filter over it. But it's lots of like nice sharp pointy edges. It has that sort of rough aesthetic to it. But the general premise is you're part of like a hunter gatherer type tribe, and you're trying to find your way back to your family, or because you go out hunting one day, you step on a rock, it breaks, and you fall through this massive hole in the ground. It's very for a 2D side scroller. I'd say it's very survival and sort of atmospheric horror heavy, where it's they say this in a message at on the outset of the game that combat is meant to be very hard. You are very weak. Everything in this game is a lot stronger than you. This is a defense first game, and that's where I got really interested in it, because I'd been seeing games like For Honor, and things like that focus on stances and specific places to block.
Yeah.
Like blocking. Oh, there. With that, this game has that. It has blocking and stances and things. Like you can block high, block low, go for lower high attacks, things like that. There's and you're also holding your torch because it is almost pitch black where you are. It's very hard to see, even with the brightness all the way up. It's ridiculous. Um, and it's like, yeah, during combat, you will drop your torch. You can get your sword knocked out of your hands easily because once again, you're fighting these big, like dark troll type monsters, and everything is a lot stronger than you. And
That sounds terrifying.
you can get nicked by one of their claws, and after you finish that fight, you'll collapse because you can die from bleeding out.
Oh my god, that's
And
brutal.
That's rough.
there's medical supplies that you can craft. There's new bits of armor, which I got. It's very much that survivalist thing because the first set of armor I crafted were bone bracers. So
Oh,
it's very
cool.
much that type of it. Making medicine from leaf, things like that. And it is it's an interesting type of grunge that I didn't think I'd be into. It's only gripe is that the movement itself feels a little slow. That this is also after I've been playing Carrion, where I can
Yeah, a game that's very
zoom and
fast.
flop around.
That's true.
But yeah, I'd say it's pretty fun.
Sounds cool. I haven't heard of that before. That sounds really. I don't know if I would be able to play it because it sounds extremely brutal, and I only barely got through Silent Hill 2 without it, not being able to handle it. But like, it sounds very interesting. I'll have to see if I can watch somebody play that just to get a sense of what the game is like.
Well, speaking of getting a sense what the game is like, Brett, why don't you give us a sense of what the next game that you've been playing is like?
Well, I mentioned it, and then I realized that we didn't talk about the other piece of news that we missed because it was that forgettable. Was the only good thing to be shown in the PlayStation State of Play.
Yep.
Was the new Star Ocean installment. That this is a franchise that everybody thought was dead because nobody cared
was
about it
just
in
like
the first
very
place.
slowly dying because
It's-
every
yeah.
single entry that's come out in like the last 10 years has been pretty bad.
It's been progressively worse, pretty much. Yeah. I'm not going to stick on this too long because it's not the game that I played because it's not out yet. But it just looks cool that you can fly around, and it's just cool. That
Have
it's
you
still
ever played
around.
a Star Ocean game before?
Well, I played almost all of the first one. It's just like an HD port on the PS4. It's not really a remaster, but it does have some nice new character art. And then I saw the trailer for Star Ocean. I was like, "Yo, new Star Ocean game!" I've only played like one, and so now I'm playing the second one, which is the one that at least out of the two 2D ones is the one that people really like.
The second and I want to say the fourth are the ones people tend to really gel on. It's either the third or the fourth.
I think it's the third. It's like till the end of time or whatever. They stop numbering them after.
They start listing them by titles. I know Integrity and Faithlessness is the one that's not that great, but is like
that's the most
fun enough.
One, yeah.
And then there's like the one that I used to play, which was on the Wii. I think I had it. Let me look up the list of Star Ocean games because I'll remember it after seeing it. Star Ocean is kind of the JRPG series that I weirdly enough grew up playing alongside Final Fantasy.
Really?
Yeah, because it was the one that was like relatively kid friendly from the cover art and whatnot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's like if you're a parent and you're going, oh, my kid likes RPGs. Well, Star Ocean seems pretty good. It's like spaceships and stuff. And hey, it worked because I was a kid that loved Star Trek and whatnot. So I was like, JRPG spaceships. Yeah, give me more of that. It was a very, very interesting set of games because most of them are just weird. Like, it's hard to place what a Star Ocean game is actually like because they aren't regular kind of games.
Yeah, the dev team Tri-Ace is made from three big boys that used to work on the original few Tales of games and then left for whatever reason. And then just kind of wanted to make their own thing, and you can kind of see that in the first two Star Oceans because the first one is literally just like the classic Tales of like PS1 games, but it's just kind of vaguely space-like. Instead, it's literally just a Tales of game, but with sci-fi elements in it.
And usually much worse storytelling.
Oh yeah, it was. That's why I didn't even really bother finishing it, is because I liked parts of it, but like, I mean, the combat was literally like just mashing A. It was literally just mashing A. You like auto locked onto your enemies. You moved down in like a 3D space, which is cool for the time. But like it was literally just.
It's kind of like
A.
just get through the story. It's not
Is
really.
it? Is it weird if I say I just got like not really a nostalgia burst, but a flashback of playing Tales of Abyss 1 and 2 on my 3DS?
Not at all, because that's very much what Star Ocean is like.
Yeah. And 2 is still in that kind of like vein of gameplay. It's still it feels like a Tales of game, but they're getting to like, weirdly enough, they got to 3D movement first, because Tales of games stayed 2D like 2D
Side
fighter
scroller
style combat for like a while. Like they had they had the classic like bird's eye view like overworld kind of things, like every other JRPG usually does. But like combat for Tales of games for the longest time, I want to say until like Symphonia or something, was all just like side scrolling.
Symphonia was still mostly. It was like vaguely 3D. It was in a 2D plane for the most part.
Oh yeah.
So,
but the characters are 3D.
You technically can move in 3D from my remembrance of it, because I did play it a while back.
And even
now, are we talking
then,
3D as in like full stick motion or up, down, left, right diagonals?
Well, you see, to make sure that you don't accidentally jump by pressing up on the movement stick, you need to hold, what is it, like the left trigger or something, to make sure that you know to run or whatever. It's like that for so many of them up until the new ones, that like a couple of Tales games that I've played where I just like, one of the controllers that I had for my Xbox One just had like a slight little bit of drift on that stick, and it kept making my character jump, and it just became unplayable. But I don't have this problem because Star Ocean is 3D movement and there is no jump button. You just if something is jumping and you try to attack it, it'll jump for you. Which, means combat is pretty simple, but it's also pretty hard. So you need to like get things into a stun lock and stuff. Story-wise, it's very I actually have an interesting relationship with this game, because this goes back a year or so, because I played an emulated version of the PSP port of this game, because the main character of the game, Claude Kenny, was voiced by a man named Spike Spencer, who voices Shinji Ikari in Evangelion. And I wanted to play the version with Shinji being the main character, because I'm a nerd, and I just wanted to see what that would be like. And he was fine, but it was like, it's like emulating a PSP game, and it's like, oh, just whatever. Other things came up and I dropped it. Now I'm playing the original version, where like, I don't know if you guys have heard the original voice acting for like Symphony of the Nights, like opening little cutscene bit, where it's just the most.
Don't think I have.
Imagine the most bit crushed audio, and like everybody sounds like Duke Nukem a little bit, because that's just what the human race sounded like in the 90s, apparently. That's what all the characters sound like, and they all say every single magical move they cast, and every single time they get hurt, and every single time that they win. It's amazing. It's adorable.
What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets.
Exactly, yeah. But in that first run, I think this is a unique thing in the Star Ocean series, where they give you a choice of what character you want to play as. You can play as your blonde space boy, Claude, or you can play as your blue-haired fantasy elf girl, Reina. And on the first time, I played Claude so I could hear Shinji. But this time, because I already seen the beginning from the other point of view, I started playing as Reina, and it's just really interesting to be like, oh yeah, this entire part of the beginning of the game, like if I only played this, I wouldn't know this. But because Claude is a space boy, and the space boys have the Star Trek logic of how do we interact with these primitive like races on planets that don't have spacefaring technology. Like we can't just tell them that we're from space. They're gonna start praising us as like gods or like heroes from legend or something, and we can't, like, that's unethical. We can't do that, which is like weird for this game. But
that's really
basically,
cool.
It's yeah. So having played the beginning, I know that Claude is a space boy that got sent here by a mystical artifact, and this happens in the first like 15 minutes, so it's not spoilers. Um, but from the other perspective, Raina does not know any of this, and because he
Oh,
won't
it's an
tell her where she's
entirely
from,
different beginning.
yes, she thinks that
That's so
he's a
cool.
hero of legend because he doesn't want to tell her where he's from. Um,
Oh.
and like she'll always be like, "Oh, why are you looking up at the sky so often?" And he's just like, "Because
Hmm.
that's somewhere my family is looking for me because I get sent away from the space boys." It's very interesting. Um, so I'm like this game also apparently has like 80 endings, and
Oh
I'm not gonna
God.
do that because
Look them
this
up.
is
Just look them
something
up.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is something that games today don't even have a lot of. Well, first of all, a console game with every single key can be rebinded on the PS1, which I thought was hilarious. Um, but every single party member in the game has a relationship meter and a friendship meter. And there are little things that you can do, like instead of entering a town with everyone, you can press square to have a private action in which all characters will enter separately and go to their own like shops and stuff. You can interact with them to either raise or lower your friendship and relationship meters to by the end of the game either be like really cool with everyone or be like super close with like one of the characters to have like a romance with them or like just stuff like that. And that's where all the endings come from, which is it's wild to me. It's so cool that it's there, but it's like
But it's
I'm
a
not
thing
This
where
gonna
is
you
use it
very
can't.
for all of
intimidating
that.
to interact
It's
with.
exactly
It's
yeah.
it's a thing where you can't like max out everyone in a playthrough.
It's
There have
I
to
don't
be
know
choices that are.
that well. I mean, you can't even get everyone in a playthrough. Like depending on who you
Oh.
start as and who like it does have some mutually exclusive characters that you can't get if you have other ones and stuff.
Oh, there's
But
so
I
many.
think
Oh.
And
it's
there is
yeah.
this is the first departure is like the new title they gave it. This game has got a recent re-release on Switch, and I think a few other platforms too.
That's the first one. This is the second story, which I think
Oh, okay.
got it got a PSP port, but it didn't get any of the new things, which is a shame because I think like already I'm only like 8 hours in or something, and this is clearly the better game because I was 8 hours into the first one and I looked at the walkthrough and it was like you have an hour and a half left to play basically, and I was like, well, so
God,
it would be nice. I mean, you're getting this new Star Ocean game out there. Most of the people aside from the YouTubers that talk about JRPGs all the time and me like they don't know. They don't know what this is. So it'd be cool if they had more. I mean, you have the first one, but that's not the best showing for the series. It would be cool if they had more ports for the ones that people like a lot.
Because I feel like the
There's,
the late PS1 and early GameCube eras of wild games, like especially
yeah.
JRPGs, stuff like Bait and Kaitos and Lost Kingdoms and whatnot
Yes.
coming out. Those games need ports because man, like they're so
I
interesting.
know.
They're so interesting. Uh,
Compared to like what you get
yeah,
today from like those same studios, if they even exist anymore, it's like there's so much experimentation. There's so much like weird like what are you talking about? You're gonna make a hard JRPG with rhythm based input systems, and then Shadow Hearts comes out and it's just actually good. And that just doesn't happen anymore because it's not what people want or like the next like big thing or whatever. It's not a battle royale or a gritty shooter or something like that. Like I don't know that there's
yeah.
just that era is so like high tier in every single era of gaming so far, and it's also the hardest to get to because right now we're in that nostalgia wave where all the prices for these PS1 games are in like the $100 range if you get them like with the case or whatever, and you're just lucky to see one below the triple digit mark, and you just have to just like grab them because you know they're never gonna get cheaper. It's like yeah, not everyone can have a collection like that, and it just sucks that they aren't preserving them very well.
Yeah. Especially because there's so many just franchises that kind of, I don't want to say died because many of them just kind of finished. There was like
Yeah,
there were franchises that finished in the PS2 era that are just super cool. Stuff like Resonance of Fate coming back that has these weird gameplay systems that just don't exist
yeah,
anymore. Is very exciting to see. Yeah, I did remember which one it is that I used to play. It's The Last Hope because it has the typical US cover of like a
yes,
silhouette of a man with a spaceship
yep.
flying through it.
That's what they always are
Yep.
for some reason.
It's great, and I just remember the main character's name, Edge Maverick,
Let's go. That's
God.
awesome.
and then like everyone else on the ship just has a regular name.
But he's the main character, so he's Edge
Edge
Maverick.
Edge Maverick and Jonathan Arbuckle.
In the new Garfield.
Yeah. That is the one that's on Xbox backwards compatibility, and that is technically I think the fourth or the fifth game in the series.
Yeah.
Which I think is the last one that was like somewhat well received.
I think so. Yeah.
I just want to see more of them. All right. So I got another game, and I think this is the one that's gonna send Brett into like a catatonic state once I say this. So y'all ever heard of a game called House Flipper? So I've been playing a little bit of House Flipper.
Okay.
All right. So the Humble Bundle does the monthly Humble Bundle, and the one for last month had House Flipper in it. I was like, you know what? Might as well give it a shot.
What better time than now?
Because I was just bored one afternoon. Was like, you know what? I want to give this a shot. Downloaded it.
Flip a house.
It's like Animal Crossing, except you get to break down walls with a sledgehammer.
Which
I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty into that.
That's awesome.
It's very entertaining for very specific people, because I think it's the kind of game where if you don't get a lot of satisfaction from like the micro actions of doing these different like renovation things, you would not like this game, right? Because you do end up inevitably staring at walls, literally watching paint dry at some point as you're like painting the walls.
Is there also like a mini thing where you're like putting a radiator together and manually screwing on the bolts or something like that?
That stuff, I love that stuff. I'm a huge fan of those weird mini games where you have to like click on the thing and then it like screws itself in and whatnot, and you got to do that for every different part. But there's also skills. This game has like perks that you get
an RPG.
So it is an RPG-ified house flipping game.
That's wild. What the hell?
As I paint the house, originally you can only paint like one little strip of the wall at once, but then you get the ability to paint like two at once, and then you can get the ability to paint faster and use less paint, so you don't need to go back to the paint bucket and refill your brush as often. And then you can eventually do 4 segments of the wall at once. It's incredible. Innovative gameplay.
I'm now imagining and have stuck in my head a quadruple wide paint roller on the same.
That is what it's like. Legitimately, it has a wild sense of progression, and I haven't gotten super far into it because it is the kind of game where I think you'd need to be in a specific mood to play it. But if you're in that mood, you're gonna have like the best time ever. So I don't know. I think I can heartily recommend that game to anyone where it sounds enjoyable to just open a bunch of emails and then go do house renovation jobs for people. Except it's RPG-ified, and you get money to buy a house and customize it. And you can do cool things, like if you're in your little shed apartment that you start with, you can like bust down the wall and expand your own apartment if you want, and add new rooms to it.
That's pretty
Or
sick.
you can move into any of the different houses that the game has and like clean them up yourself and get a new living space out of it. So lots of cool little systems like that are just very fun from this like tiny indie game that I paid nothing for. So very entertaining to see. Plus they have, if you're into HGTV, which I've never watched in my life, there is an HGTV add-on where you do episodes of the TV show in the game.
Wow.
Where you go do the renovation. And I'm like,
that's pretty sick.
That actually sounds like an incredible gameplay experience if you're into that kind of thing. So I think people that like Animal Crossing but maybe wish there were less time gates and whatnot might find something to enjoy with this.
People who like Animal Crossing but also just constantly hear the Home Depot soundtrack in the back of their heads.
Are constantly pulled
I hear the Lowe's soundtrack.
Sears.
To Sears and TJ Maxx, Home Goods.
Yeah.
You know, got to get your little knickknacks to decorate the shelf.
Oh, God. Ace is the place where the helpful hardware is at.
No, we can't sing that on the...
Oh, no!
No, we're fine with 5 seconds of it. That's fine. We can't go over 10.
We're safe.
We're safe as long as you stop. That game is absolutely wild.
I think I have watched our friend Eric play some of this before. I think there's a stage where you have to make like it's like a BB gun or like a paintball range interior kind of thing, and you have to. There was this really weird like, oh yeah, go renovate this place, and like half of the tasks were just like placing guns on walls, and it was very strange.
I haven't done that one yet, but
do.
I did do. I have gotten one that's like renovate this old ruined drug addict house and turn it into a kindergarten.
What?
So you need to like tear it apart.
Oh my god!
And then you add things like lockers.
There's a secret dark plot to House Flipper, isn't there?
Really?
There's a
Probably.
hidden story here.
Because like I'm probably I've played about 5 hours of it over the course of the last 2 weeks, and I am like nowhere near to touching the server. Like I have not even unlocked the ability to like flip houses yet. I don't have the house flipping, unless it's a thing you might be able to just go do that. Like I'm not certain you actually need to like get a thing. I think that might be kind of the equivalent of the sandbox mode. But I have not gotten a thing to like go actually tear a house down and done it yet. I just got my first one that's like go do that, which is the kindergarten one. So I've been doing the smaller jobs that tend to like tell you how to use your different things, your wheel of abilities, and like know how to sledgehammer walls correctly, because when you sledgehammer them, they like actually physically break. And so you have to like sledgehammer individual bits to make sure they fall down correctly and you actually get all the wall off of it. And stuff like
they got
that.
the Rainbow Six physics.
Yep.
I tell you, from crack den to kindergarten got me.
Yep. But it was like a thing. There was one that was like, go clean up this dorm, this house that a bunch of college students rented, and you can just see this ruined house with like pizza things everywhere, and there's a roach infestation. I'm like, yep. Bunch of college kids just moved out. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, just in kind of a zen way. Okay, any other games that we want to mention from either of you?
I want to tangentially, because I wasn't playing it, but this was one that I did watch Eric play recently. That came out and is on Game Pass. Unpacking is what that reminded me of, to a lesser degree, of like renovating stuff.
Yep.
But it has that same kind of like, it has that same feeling of like, oh, I just really feel like cleaning today, and then you just like you do all the things, you put them on all the right spot, and you get that kind of.
I can tell you right now that
flow state.
That is 90% chance my choice for the Games Club we're gonna
do.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
You don't clean your actual house, you just clean
you virtually don't ever clean your real house.
Listen, real life is an RPG-ified. Real life is a pixel art, Alex.
If I could click on a box and just donate all the books in the
If all it took to install a radiator is like clicking the mouse on a few buttons, I would do it all the time. Yep.
God.
It's been wild. All right.
I mean, it does. That's paying other people to do it.
Alex, are you ready to unleash your Elder Scrolls?
Go ham.
Baby, that's what we're here about. That's what it's all about. That's what we're here for.
We're here for the Elder Scrolls time. And so, for people that don't know, Skyrim is getting an anniversary edition on November 11th. It's 11/11, you know, the anniversary of 10 years ago when Skyrim first came out.
Because instead of creating another Elder Scrolls game, just Skyrim again. You know,
just Skyrim again.
The classic Todd move.
Though this one is a lot nicer because if you already own Special Edition, it's only $20 to upgrade, and it includes all the Creation Club stuff, all of it.
He pulled a chess club move on us.
He did. Now, that's all well and good. You know, Skyrim's getting this updated version. If you already own it, it's $20. If you don't own it, it's $50. You get to get the whole version with all the DLC and all the Creation Club DLC that's been released, as well as a bunch of new things and a ton of like larger Creation Club stuff they've been working on.
And there's a couple of good quest lines and things like that. More armor sets, mainly.
And a lot of things that are just like the nice thing with Creation Club compared to regular modding is that you know everything is compatible and will work without the need to go through a bunch of patches, which I'll talk about in a minute.
There's just more quality in mods than there is in Creation Club.
Like Creation Club is like, sure, the weapons and whatnot look cool, but
it's all these bits and pieces. There's nothing really cohesive, I guess, except for the one quest line of what is it, Saints and Sinners?
Saints and Seducers, and there's they're coming out with 2 more questline mods that are like complete quest lines that look very cool. I think the Cause is like a Mythic Dawn themed one, and then they have another one that I don't remember what it's about, but there's 3 of them coming out that all look Tribunal. It's a Tribunal thing from Morrowind. That all 3 of those look really good. But the rest of it is mostly content that is just kind of like, oh, here's a new sword with like a quest where you can go kill a crab and get it or something, right?
or it just puts it in your inventory for things like that.
It's just the kind of thing
that severe, but there's been cases.
There's not a lot of detail to them, and like as quality as the items can be, because most of them were made by modders. It's stuff like, The only really major quality things from that are things like the player homes, because Eleonora, who's a very well-known Skyrim modder who makes player homes, has a couple of Creation Club player homes that are really good. So stuff like that is the kind of thing you're getting in this that's valuable, but you're not getting any major gameplay things aside from fishing. So if you want your gameplay mods...
Aquariums, I guess, if you could count that as gameplay.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's like, none of these Creation Club things are offering anything that is substantial enough to warrant not playing with mods. Luckily, normally you don't have to. However...
Yet, it's all these things, yet they... Yeah, sorry, no, that goes into exactly what you were going to say.
Yeah. However, the Anniversary Edition is releasing a scripting update to Special Edition, which is going to actively break every single mod. And this update is not opt-in, so if you have it on Steam and you launch Skyrim, it is going to update. Or if you don't, even if you don't launch Skyrim and you just have it installed, it's going to update. So anyone that wants to play with mods from now, probably until 6 months to a year from now, prevent your game from updating on Steam and never launch it through Steam. Only launch it through SKSE or whatever mod launcher you're using. Because it will break everything. That's the kind of general consensus. It's not going to break mods that don't use scripting.
Wait, if we do stop the auto updating, can we still launch it from Steam? Or
you cannot do not press the button that says Skyrim. That's the thing. If you want to launch it, what I did is I went into Steam and hid Skyrim Special Edition. So I now cannot access Skyrim Special Edition unless I specifically type its name in and then open the hidden menu and go look in. So there's 3 steps now to me touching that version of the game so that I don't accidentally touch it.
Yeah.
And if I want to...
desktop icons either? That's off the table?
Well, what I did do is I put in SKSE, has the SKSE loader that it ships with. I just added that into Steam as a Steam game, essentially. And I launch it through Steam using that. So it's never actually launching the Skyrim EXE, it's launching SKSE. And then you can set a custom logo to match Skyrim and everything. So functionally, it can work the same, and it even still does Steam achievements and whatnot. It's just not launching it through the EXE that will have Steam force update it.
Oh.
And that will save your Skyrim install from getting mods breaking. What was that, Alex?
My head is spinning. I don't think I'm gonna get this. I don't think I'm gonna do this right. Oh god, I'm never gonna be able to play Skyrim again.
Well, I think the honest answer is it's not the end of the world, because the Skyrim mods are going to get updated, at least most of the major ones. Yeah. The things that stand to be lost are a lot of the old DLL loaders and whatnot, and stuff that was scripting based before SKSE was kind of universal. DLLs are just a type of file that need to be loaded into games a specific way. So a lot of older mods that use that kind of thing or that use SKSE are going to break until SKSE is updated. And we don't know how the SKSE update is going to work, where it might be able to work the same way for most end users, the modders that are making these mods, and then they just need to go in and update it. Or they're going to have to update a lot more if they're using SKSE and manually redo a lot of calls. And if that's the case, then we may not see a lot of the gameplay overhauls that have been done actually ship for Anniversary Edition at any point, because they can't. If the modders stop modding for whatever reason, they don't play the game anymore, those mods are kind of dead in the water until they get updated. Of course, we won't really know how this works until Anniversary Edition is out.
Which is likely, because it has been a decade.
Yeah, it's been a full decade. People have moved on.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some mods are just not going to be updated, and a lot of things are going to have issues of not updating and maybe breaking a lot of things that are built around them. It's Skyrim was the third game that I've been playing the last few weeks, and I went in and did the largest modding run I've ever done. I normally, when I mod Skyrim, I maybe get up to 50 at the most and have just a couple of nice, easy to install mods. I never do the things that require compatibility patches. I never do anything like that. This time I went, nah, I'm going in. I am making the perfect load order before this Anniversary Edition update, so that I do not need to touch anything related to the game, and I can just play it. And so now I have installed almost every DLC size mod. I've got major city overhauls for every city. I have tons of incompatible things normally that need patches, so I'm up to 244 mods, not including like the 50 that I installed and then uninstalled because they were breaking things or needed compatibility patches that didn't work. So my load order is now perfect, and I'm basically playing Skyrim except it's not Skyrim because it doesn't play like Skyrim at all. I showed Alex this earlier, but I have the thing where you can now block no matter what you're holding in your hands. So if you have 2 spells, you can still block. If you have a sword, you can still block. It won't be super effective if you don't have a shield, but you can block, and that means you can trigger timed counters. And of course, I have the Sekiro preset for Ultimate Combat. It's called the Sekiro preset, which adds the Sekiro sparks from your blade when you block with a timed block, and adds stagger to enemies so that they get staggered on like based on how many times you block them or like hit them with a power attack. They get staggered, so you can deal some damage. And it makes combat feel so much better. But then, of course, I went in and added something called true directional movement, which makes it so that you can move easily in 360 degrees in third person, which is a problem that Skyrim's always had. And you can lock onto things with like a lock-on target. So I now have combat lock-on, and it has like boss health bars that show up. You have your enemy health bars. It's like a weird mix of Dark Souls and something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you have that kind of lock-on circle strafing combat, but with Skyrim. Of course, there's dodges now. There's counters. The animations are all completely different. I don't think I have a single base animation left in the game for the player character, aside from like sitting down. Even then, I'm not 100% certain. That makes all the attacks look way better. It makes a bonkers amount of difference to where now Skyrim feels like a game that probably would have come out maybe a year ago, aside from the visuals obviously looking like they're 10 years old. But the gameplay itself now feels vastly superior, and also kind of because you can customize everything, you have the ability to kind of make the game exactly how you want it to be. So like what I like to do is I don't like the lethality of a lot of Skyrim mods where they keep going for, oh, you kill the enemy really fast and the enemy kills you really fast. I don't think that's that fun, because like the fighting the enemy is the fun part, right? So why do you want that to end really quickly? So I tend to use the mods that allow me to customize it and make it so that I do less damage, but enemies don't necessarily deal more damage to me. So that way they have essentially bigger health pools for me to fight with, and the fights are extended a little bit, which I think feels a lot better. And there's tons of stuff going on.
Oh no! Wait, so you're talking about with the anniversary edition doing scripting changes. The most recent playthrough of Skyrim that I've been doing, I caved and I was not able to do a voice only run.
Yeah.
But I'm using shouting as my main weapon because I have the amulets of Talos stacked on.
Oh yeah, so you can shout.
Is that going to get rid of the ability to? Is that going to get rid of the ability to stack amulets of Talos?
It depends on what mod you're using for it.
I'm not using a mod for it.
You're not using a mod for it, then probably not. I doubt it. But
yes. Oh,
I would recommend if you're doing a shout run, you got to try Thunderchild, which lets you. It gives tons of expanded shouts. There's new areas of High Hrothgar you can go to. All sorts of crazy stuff.
You have no idea how rock hard it makes me to go into the Civil War quest line and Fusroda an entire army.
Look, there's a fun one that Thunderchild has like an alternative to the Fusroda typical shout, where instead of like launching people, you slam them into the air, like in an AOE circle kind of thing. It's called Earthquake. Yeah. Instead, so you launch them directly into the air, because what Thunderchild does is it adds alternate meanings for the words in different combinations. And so you can get shouts using the same words as before that have new combos.
So cool.
It's super fun.
Yeah, that sounds pretty sick.
And of course you have to unlock them by doing a mini game where your stamina drains, and you can only see your stamina bar for the first like 2 seconds of this. And then you have to predict and try to stop the minigame when your stamina bar is under 20%. So you have to guess based on how long it's taking to do that, which is a cool little minigame that you don't have to do very much, but it's a neat way to unlock new stuff.
It's like in the new areas of High Hrothgar that you talked about?
Yeah. And they add new ways to get Dragon Souls too, of like, now there are certain animals that are like blessed by Kine for you to hunt. So you go hunt these animals, and once you kill like 4 of them, you get Dragon Soul. So there's stuff like that
Cool.
where you can have alternate ways of gaining and using Dragon Souls, which is very fun. There's tons of new stuff to play with. So
Yeah, I was also doing the fire shout. Yeah, what was I was sticking with the 3 main Fusro Da, um, like the fire shout, the fire breath, because
of
dragons,
course,
and then not like it wasn't like the ice storm, but it wasn't just frost breath. It was ice form.
oh
To
yeah,
just in case people want. Oh,
yeah.
so fun.
There's tons of cool stuff with that. It's a very, very interesting way to play the game with all these crazy mods that allow me to do things that the game was not
Like
designed for.
playing it as the Dragonborn, as Bethesda didn't intend.
And not having to fumble around in your menu all the time to make sure you're switching correctly at different points and like using potions and whatnot. Because now I have a button that I can press on my controller that just uses a potion for any resource I have that's under maximum.
Ooh,
Yep.
cool.
I just double press down on my D-pad and I just auto use a potion. It's great.
God, I need to get to Bruma before the scripting goes belly up. I have it
Yeah,
installed, but I
that
haven't
that
gotten there yet.
mod probably will break.
Oh
I don't know
God.
if it will, but it probably will. Safe to assume if you're in doubt, it's going to break until it gets fixed.
Well, I have 3 days now.
Yep. To just go
Oh
in and
boy.
uncheck that box. It's a lot of crazy time for the Skyrim modding community. And like there's a fix to this. Just make it a separate version of Skyrim instead of updating the special edition, but I'm sure that probably would have caused its own issues of like they may not have been able to do the discount thing if you own the game. So
That's Todd's checkmate.
yeah.
Screw you.
I mean, he's doing an AMA about it soon, so we'll see if there's any added news. But
Let's see how well that goes.
I am curious because Todd Howard is
An
very
AMA.
bummed. He's gonna have an interesting time. With that, we've gone through our games to talk about, which means we're to shoutouts.
Oh, wow.
We got through. We actually hit the time that we normally aim for in the show, which is just about an hour and a half, which is the goal time. Usually we run up to like 2 hours because we talk too much.
Yep. But we made sure to get the Elden Ring stuff out at the beginning this time.
Yeah, that helped
So
that we didn't
smart
go on the
decision.
entire time. Speaking of shoutouts in Elden Ring and shouting in Skyrim, because you know it's a thing you do. What are your shoutouts?
Hey.
Good job.
You almost made Brett go off screen.
You never want to do that.
He's not coming back if he does that.
All right. I will start. Shout out to 343 for finally putting some good damn armor in Halo Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
I I don't hate some of the other sets that they've added, but I don't like I kind of just tolerate them because most of them don't look very Halo, especially they got like the Viking stuff, which is like cool, but it
doesn't
like
match
they're
the
putting
aesthetic.
it doesn't match Halo 3, which is the game that they're putting them all in. That makes me hurt a little bit. But however, they are adding because in like what number day is this coming out again? So
this will be on the 9th. The episode
the
launches
9th. So then so the I mean, it doesn't change it. The Monday after will be the 20th anniversary of Halo as a franchise. So they're doing some 20th anniversary things.
Fun.
And that includes having the original 1991 Macworld Master Chief armor for when Halo was going to be an RTS on the Mac. They're putting that into Halo 2 Anniversary of all games, but it looks just as crusty as it always did. And it's incredible that it's even there. So I super love that. And they're also adding in the SPI armor from one of the book covers of one of the really good books, like Ghosts of Onyx. I think I have it somewhere down in the basement, but I don't know where it is.
This man who reads the Halo books.
Oh, I know. Well, at least I used to, and I don't anymore because I think some of the newer ones aren't very good. But yeah, I just like that they're paying attention to just like a cool old thing, and also like finally we have an armor set that has never been in a game before. And yeah, they don't cost money. You just got to play the game. within the weeks that they're available, which is
what
still
a
like
revolutionary idea.
it's still super FOMO because they're gonna be here for like 2 weeks and then gone forever, which I don't like.
Ooh.
But they're free, so I mean, it's cool, I guess.
Yeah, less to complain about that it's free.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, Alex, you got something?
From keeping in touch with 343, kind of ancestrally, and FOMO. Shout out to me kicking my Destiny addiction.
You
Knock
going
on wood.
cold turkey?
I think I have. I don't know. I think like I'm still. It's not like kick the addiction as in I'm never gonna play it again because
But
there's
you
still
stop playing it when you're not finding it fun. Is that what I
Yeah.
assume you mean?
yeah.
As you should. As you
Yep.
should.
Games are for fun. Play what you enjoy. Anything else about Destiny?
No, because I haven't played it
Because
in
this
a
is a
while.
Destiny podcast.
I just the only time I logged in, I think this past week and a half maybe, was to pick up a cool armor ornament that I saw
Nice.
on the Eververse store.
Oh, not so nice.
Oh,
Not so
That's
nice.
a name I haven't heard in a long time.
All right, I gotta give my shout out to Naoki Yoshida as an entity producing Final Fantasy 14 and 16 at the same time and managing to. He like apologized about 10 times in the 2 week delay for Endwalker, and the 14 community, nobody was upset, right? Like no one is actually upset the game's getting delayed because they know it's going to be really good when it comes out. It's not the kind of group that's going to throw insults at them for delaying the game by 2 weeks. But just the sheer level of, you can go watch a video of him giving this like statement and you can just see like how passionate he is about what he's doing, and he's like, it's so rare to see that in a game studio because so often they try to be super composed and super scripted and just not allow themselves to just talk to a thing and
even
produce it.
Even when they have like that one person that they all collectively elect to be like the guy that's on camera all the time talking about it, it's very rare that they actually appear like human and emotional and passionate about their projects.
That man's so based. He's a Thanksgiving turkey.
That's why Jeff Kaplan too. Jeff Kaplan was like the golden goose of the Overwatch team, and now he's gone, and it's so sad. He'll never be the same without Jeff Kaplan there. With that said, we've hit the end of the show. As always, Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern on the podcast platform of your choice and YouTube if you want to see our lovely faces. We'll see you next week. Also, there'll be a new WrestleCast coming out real soon.
Yeah, baby.
2 of them, actually, so keep an eye on that.
Yep, we got one before the funny pay-per-view and one after the funny pay-per-view. Gaming time.
It's not gaming, that's wrestling.
Well, it's gaming time right now. Gaming time isn't over yet.
Speaking of gaming time, I